Hi everyone, welcome to today's research-informed defensive lesson here at Active Self-Protection. I am your host, as always, John Correa.
And I'm your co-host, Neil Widener.
This is not a paid endorsement, but I am a brand ambassador for Heckler and Koch USA. HK firearms are incredibly reliable, incredibly accurate, great firearms for defensive carry. From the new VP9A1 to the CC9 to the P30 that I have carried every day for the last 8 years, they are incredible firearms for defensive use. You carry a gun just in case. Shouldn't it be an HK just in case? Boulder, Colorado. There is here what has happened is there is an event going on about hostages being held in Gaza, and this guy here on camera has decided that he hates that, and he has planned for quite some time to combat that by throwing Molotov cocktails at those people. And he has seriously burned at least 2 people and injured at least 8 people, according to the news stories that I've linked in the description. So people brought up their cameras after that got started. Let's watch what happens.
We're here, brother. We're here. We can't do nothing about that. We can't do nothing.
We can!
Not here.
You have to answer this.
Not here, bro.
You're not.
People taking video right now.
Answer
He was wearing an orange suit with like something on his mask.
Spraying alcohol.
Spraying alcohol, but what he did was he made it look like he was here.
He's making Molotov cocktails.
And for us,
Well, we can't do it when he's got Molotov cocktails on
if
him.
you are fighting, you have to.
That's what he's got right here. Is Molotov
You're
cocktails.
fighting. They are killers.
Get back from him.
How many? Come on.
I wish I had my gun with me. I'd do it.
Eventually, police arrived. That wasn't caught on any of the cell phone cameras that I am aware of. And they did end up taking this guy into custody. He is facing a huge number of federal and state charges, including acts of terrorism and attempted murder, because he said he wanted all those people to die. Thankfully, none of them did. 2 were at least seriously injured enough to require a significant hospital stay. 4 more treated and released at the hospital, and at least 2 others injured, and I don't know that they were transferred to the hospital. Go read the news stories. You've got all the details there. Neil gets to do an awful lot of reading of the comments here at Active Self-Protection. And we read all of the comments in the app, every single one, and those tend to be pretty good. Neil, on YouTube, maybe a little different.
It's not, people are not as nice on the YouTubes as they are in the app, but it's always fun. Well, it's not always fun. It's always interesting, let's say that. And I spend a good portion of my day communicating with people in the comments.
So, be nice, be kind, be professional, be a good, sane, sober, moral, prudent commenter, would you? You know, Neil, I think we just got to start by saying that ideological violence like this of all kinds is abhorrent, and we completely condemn it of all kinds. We're kind of seeing a balkanization in our communities and in our country right now, that people feel like, oh, if I can other someone else enough, then I can do violence to them because they disagree with my ideas, and it's important enough that I can kill them. And that's just abhorrent, and we need to push back against that and say, no, human life is valuable. We can disagree about ideas, and we will not use violence to enforce our political beliefs.
Yeah, violence, you just took the words out of my mouth, but violence isn't the answer when it comes to your political beliefs. In the history of changing people's political views, I don't know that violence has ever done it, in this kind of an instance, short of wars and all of that other stuff. And I don't want to get into that. Let's talk about this one specifically. This guy decided to use violence to try to push his political agenda forward and hurt people that probably had nothing to do with it, potentially hurt people that even agreed with him. And there's just no place for that in our society.
I also think, I'll get into it for just a minute, because I know people are going to say, well, yeah, but John, in the Revolutionary War, they used violence. No, go read the Declaration of Independence. They said, hey, this is the usurpations have gone on so long, And they're so egregious and so evil that we are now independent. And we want to be friends with you, but we're not going to be ruled by you anymore. So good day to you. It was King George that chose violence by sending troops. So they said, we don't want to fight, leave us alone. He decided he wanted to fight, so they used defensive violence. Very different things. So we don't use violence to achieve political ends. That is terrorism, and this guy has been charged with terroristic acts, and rightly so. Now, I think there's something to be said for the fact that we are seeing some of this happen in our communities, and so we need to be prepared for that. We need to not be shocked by it. And I also think, Neil, and this one's important, that if it happens by somebody on our side against somebody against us, we have to step in and stop the person whose politics align with us, just like we would if their politics don't.
And I think that might be a key that folks really need to hear and really internalize is just because somebody agrees with you and your political opinion or whatever your opinion is, whether it's politics or sports, just because they agree with you does not mean that you can condone them pushing violence on others. That's just not going to be okay. They're technically breaking the law if you, at the very least, and at the very most, they're going to kill somebody. And in this case, this guy is using fire and burning people, and that I'm guessing he doesn't know any of them. Maybe he knew one or two of them, and that's where he targeted them and decided then to attack some other folks. But in this case, it's just not cool. And if it's somebody that agrees with you, wrong is still wrong. And you know in your heart when you see the wrong.
Absolutely the case. And, listen, I'm a Niners fan because that's Jesus's favorite football team. But just because, if a bunch of Niners fan hooligans went in and attacked a bunch of other people, I'm not siding with them just because they're wearing the team colors. And that's the same case for politics, even for religion, quite frankly. I'm a Christian, and if I see Christians doing violence, I'm not on their team just because they share the same faith I do, okay?
Hold on. Let's get this straight. All Niner fans are hooligans. But that doesn't mean that anybody should put violence towards them. So, come on.
Okay, not all of us are hooligans, okay?
No, you all are. You all are. 100% of you are hooligans.
Okay, now you're catching Neil and I giving each other a hard time because, Neil is a Cowboys fan and they haven't won anything this century. So you can't hate the Cowboys anymore because it's like hating the poor redheaded stepchild. You just can't do that.
They're not good enough to hate. So give us a break, man.
Oh, it's true. Okay, back to the serious action now. This guy, I want to note what he's doing here is that the cell phone video does show exactly what he's doing. He is throwing, I think, alcohol-based Molotov cocktails on people and lighting them on fire with a homemade flamethrower of some kind. So not a very effective means to kill somebody, thankfully, but absolutely a risk of death or great bodily injury. And so, so people are going to ask, well, wait a minute, John, nobody died here. Remember, the threat is death or grievous bodily injury. That injury which would lead to hospitalization, to the losing the use of a limb or, a sense for some time. And burning somebody like this, I think certainly qualifies as a deadly threat.
100% it does. And in fact, it's maybe even more painful than using a knife or a gun. It's just it's a mean way to hurt somebody, to burn them. And, that's why you don't see it a whole lot in warfare anymore either, just because it's just a hardcore way to inflict violence on somebody. And that's exactly what this guy's doing. And all of his intent says that he wants to kill people. And based on his rants, it's because of his political beliefs.
It's just evil again, right? And I want you to recognize, though, you got to be willing to act here. You got to not go, oh no, what's going on, and get stopped in that loop. You have to go, wait a minute, that's a problem. I need to do something about it. If that something is get your family out of there, do it. If that something is, I'm going to step in and stop this guy, do it now. Now, I do want to stop here. I really commend all these people for helping this poor woman who is badly injured, and they are trying to render aid to her. But remember, there is an active threat of death or great bodily injury in your vicinity. So that means you either got to deal with that threat or get her out of that threat to do that. And if you're carrying your gun and you're like, dude, I need to solve this problem first, then I'll deal with her injuries, that's a solution. But otherwise, getting her out of there, and Neil, I don't think the average person has thought about, gosh, can I take a 150, 180 pound person and pick them up off the ground?
Yeah, I don't think most people think about that on the regular, because I don't think about it either. But the fact is, if that's something that you can't do, it's maybe something that you should work on, maybe something you can hit the gym, maybe you can figure out techniques. But in this case, there were multiple men there. I think that's all men in the video. Maybe there were some women there, but there were multiple people standing with her that could have scooped her up and got her out of the danger zone. And I know it's probably going to be a little bit icky and a little bit weird to grab somebody that's got burnt flesh on them, but she's still alive. If you're by yourself and you can't pick up that person, then you need to drag them. You need to get them out of that danger zone. And like John said, if you've got a gun on you or some weapon to defend yourself with, the right answer that I would give is go stop the threat right now before there's more people to hurt, because potentially one of the people that gets hurt could be you. So stopping the threat is important. But I think where a lot of people in the self-defense, vein fall is that, yeah, I know I can shoot a gun. I'm willing to step up, but they don't think through these things. And that's not paranoia. It's just being vigilant, thinking about what would I do in an instance, and having a plan. So you've had a mental rep before this thing goes, because right now everybody's getting this mental rep for the very first time. And they have not, thought about what will I do to stop a threat like this towards multiple people. And so they're going through their card catalog in their head, trying to figure out what to do. And essentially everybody kind of semi-froze and didn't get out of the way of the danger.
I also think this is a great reason to keep your first aid kit on your person, right? Because if you go, well, wait a minute, I keep one in the car. All right, cool, man. This is going down right in front of you. Now you got to sprint to your car, no matter how far it is away. It could be a quarter mile, could be half mile, could be a mile. You got to go run all the way to there in order to get it. That's a tough sell. So keep your emergency first aid kit on your person. I certainly do every day. There's a link in the description if you want to buy the one that is the one that I carry. Now, I want to think about this guy as a continuing threat, right? Let's remember here. So as you go, wait a minute, I need to shoot this guy. So I want to think about, remember that triad, right? Is somebody an immediate deadly threat? Do they have the ability to do you deadly harm, the opportunity to do you deadly harm? Have they manifested an intent to do you deadly harm? Clearly, this guy has manifested intent. He's got more Molotov cocktails on him, so he has the ability. And I think, Neil, he's still in range of people with those Molotov cocktails. He could chuck one of those in just a very brief second. So I think right now, the answer to that is probably yes. And I think given the fact that he's just, immolated a whole bunch of people, ooh, look that word up. The fact of the matter is nobody's going to give you a hard time about using deadly force on this guy. We don't want people to get jammed up by using deadly force at wrong times, but I think this is the right time.
I think 100% you're okay if you shoot this guy in this instance. But there's multiple answers that could potentially work here. If you had a gun, you could draw your gun and start giving commands. And, I feel like at one point I saw this video a couple of weeks ago, and I did feel like, I did see when the law enforcement got there that he did lay down. So law enforcement drew their gun, gave commands, and he laid right down. So that's another option. But if you've got the gun, you can use that option, and you can kind of do the force continuum thing of draw the gun, give him some commands. If he doesn't respond to that, then you can shoot him. So there are different things you can do, but I think somebody that isn't trained a lot, that doesn't maybe have the vocabulary of what to say to somebody in that case, drawing your gun and shooting this guy, I don't see that you're going to run into a whole lot of trouble, even in Boulder, Colorado.
I think you're right, though, Neil. This is a really good time to maybe draw and challenge, to draw and command, to draw to a command would be a really good thing here. But that means maybe having some commands in your hip pockets that you understand how to do those, maybe taking some force-on-force classes to give you some experiences there. Would be a really, really wise thing. So then that way it's not the first time you're ever thinking about it. I will say as well, closing distance with this guy is really foolish. And you see this one dude, he's going to step in here. I could see if, this guy, he looks like a big dude. And if he was like a former defensive end on his high school football team, and he's like, nah, man, I'm going in there and I'm going to double leg this guy and take him to the ground. Okay, cool. Or, hey, my buddy's got lethal cover. I'm going to go in and OC spray this guy and see if we can get him to not be a threat anymore. all right, fine. But going in to argue with him at arm's length, I think that's a great way to get set on fire.
I think it's a bad idea simply because you're not going to talk this guy down. He's already shown what his intent is. He's already taken action with that intent. So you closing the distance and making it easier for him to potentially douse you is a bad idea. Now, when I watched this video the first time, I thought he was going to come in and just wrap that guy up and that's where it was going to end. But you're not going to talk somebody down that's in that moment. They've already made the decision, I'm going to try to kill a bunch of people, so they aren't right in the head. So you aren't probably going to be able to reason with them unless you've got a bigger tool, essentially like a gun or something along those lines, to change their mind and change their focus. But once just you standing there empty-handed, even if it's a good friend of yours, the fact that the idea of changing their mind in the moment is not good. You've got to maintain the distance, or you have to commit fully, wrap this dude up and take him to the ground and hope the cavalry comes to help.
Yeah, the last thing I want to say here is you saw this last video and the woman here says, wow, man, if I had my gun, I'd do it. And I wish I had my gun. And as Grandpa said, if ifs and buts were candies and nuts, we'd all have a Merry Christmas. But listen, the gun that you left in the glove box, the gun that you left in the car, the gun that you left in the safe at home, it may as well be in Narnia. It is not useful to you. The only one that's going to be useful is the one that's on your person. Now this one, I'm not sure where this was in Boulder. I don't know if this was maybe a no firearms allowed area. That could be the case, all right? And I'll admit to that. But for the most part, not the case. And so carry your stinking gun, Neil. It drives me nuts when people don't carry their firearm.
They just don't in a lot of cases, and you hear it all the time. And I get it all the time. You do too, John. When, just this weekend I was visiting a friend, and the very first question he said, "You got your gun on you?" Because that's who we are and what we do. I'm like, yeah, here, whatever. We had the conversation. I'm like, "Where's yours?" And he's like, "Oh, it's in my sock drawer." Because that's where it stays. And people think that they're going to be able to move in the act or move in the moment and take that action. The other thing to think about is, even if she had a gun on her, John, would she have known what to do? Has she had enough mental reps or enough training to have an idea of what to do to be effective and effectively stop this? And I think that's something that folks don't think about enough, is that in the moment, just having the gun, for a lot of folks is just the whoopee that makes them feel good. But in the moment that you have to use that, are you willing, and do you know what steps to take so that you can follow through and stop this threat?
I think that's entirely correct. Saying, well, if I did, then I would. Well, guess what? Just by leaving your gun at home, you told me your mindset probably isn't one that you would step in. You probably wouldn't do what you think you're going to do. And unfortunately, that's too many people. You got to have attitude first before skills and plan matter. And if your plan is to go run home to get the gun, that's a bad plan. Also, I will tell you, when somebody says to me, "Oh, John, are you carrying your gun right now?" My answer is, "Can you see a gun on me?" And they go, "Well, no." Well, then guess what? If I am carrying one, I don't want you to know it. And if I'm not carrying one, I also don't want you to know it. That's what concealed carry means, isn't it? And then I just leave it at that. And they go, "Oh, I guess you're right, huh?" Yeah, well, that's how that works, right? And I do work to make sure that my concealment looks pretty good. So carry your stinking gun, people. Please hear me. In a case like this, the one that you leave in the car is no good to anyone. And I think that there's a ton of lessons here. Final one that I'll think about is, yes, eventually the police arrive. But how much was care delayed for the people who are sitting there burned because nobody else could step in and stop this guy? The police, God bless them, they're going to be coming from outside. They're going to be a long way away. You have to be the first responder. Police and fire are second responders. You are the first responder. What are you going to do in a case like this? This is a good mental rep to help you think about, how would I cover my ass?